Hey YouTube, Zach Guy here. Got kind of a special knife here today. It may look like an ordinary Swiss Army knife, but to me it's a little bit special. Give a little background on this knife. In November of 2018, I went to the Tulsa Gun Show, which is billed as the largest gun show in the world. It's 10 acres of guns and knives and stuff to go with them. And I found a dealer there. He was selling knives that had a box of Swiss Army knives, and I went digging through it and found this knife. Now, what caught my eye and why I even picked it up at the time, because the scales were busted up and dirty and whatnot, but I just picked it up, looked at it, flipped it over, thought that the small blade looked kind of different, opened it up, and it was a clip point. And I was like, oh yes. Then I opened up the master blade, and let's see if we can get focused in on here, and saw that it was an Elinox, and just got excited. Ended up buying a knife off the guy for about $15-20. He was trying to jack the price up a little higher, but I was like, nah, I'm not going to pay that much. So ended up, I think it was around $20. So I got it home, tried to clean it up, couldn't, was trying to find scales for it, couldn't find any scales that would fit it. It's an 84 millimeter Tourist, so I sent it back to Victorinox and got new scales on it. They cleaned it up, sharpened the blades. But as you can see on the clip blade, if you look at it, when I got it back, I knew it was the original knife because the blades had some scratches on there, scuffed up a little bit. And the same with the master blade. And then this is your typical Tourist with the opening layer. And then on the back it has corkscrew and the awl with that doesn't have the eye on it. Now the original scales for this knife were the nylon scales that had no tools on it. Victorinox replaced the scales, and I think they replaced the corkscrew also, because if you look at the corkscrew, it's a rounded corkscrew, and I remember when I sent it to them, the corkscrew was one of the ones that had the line in it. So I think there was something wrong with the corkscrew and they replaced that, which is cool. My big thing was it being an Elinox. I just thought that was the coolest thing, and I added it to my collection. I was able to date this knife because of the tang stamp on it, and I'll show that again here. Hopefully you can see that. It says Elinox Switzerland Stainless Rossafir, and then on the back there's no tang stamp. There's just a scratch on the tang there. And then on the clip blade, there are no tang stamps. I just think the clip blade on the small knives or on the Victorinox knives is cool. Been wanting one, found it, got it. But because of the clip blade and the tang stamp, I was able to date this knife to 1973. Now that particular tang stamp was used from 1973 to 1975, and the clip blades were discontinued in 1973. So this is a 1973 knife. Like I said, the original scales were the Econo scales. They were nylon and they had no tools on, no toothpick or tweezers. This does. You have the tweezers here, toothpick over here, and can't probably, camera might not be picking it up, but it's got the space to put a straight pin. So, and one other thing, when you start to open up the corkscrew, and hopefully you can see it, it does it on most knives, it will do this, but it really is very pronounced here. The main blade lifts up, which I thought was kind of neat, and then when your corkscrews all the way out, it's recessed back down. But when you're opening and closing it, that blade does pop up. I just thought that was kind of an interesting quirk. And that's about it on the Tourist, the 1973 Tourist. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And remember, always be prepared.